talent that keeps the industry moving.
Good morning. I'm very excited to be here. Well, probably because I had a double shot of espresso this morning, but in Rome, do as Romans do. Before I begin, I'd like to tell you a story on how this topic came about, talent that keeps the industry moving. Initially, we were talking about upskilling as such, but then I was thinking that upskilling is really one piece of it all. And really what we should be talking about is talent development as a whole. And today, the industry is moving really, really fast. So you can't afford making one step aside or make a blind step. Because if you do that without a strategy in mind, in that case, you might risk being behind. And you can't afford that. Same goes for learning. You can't think on learning activities without a strategy in mind. You need to have a vector. And this is how strategized learning came about. I personally use this term a lot and apply this term a lot in everyday work. And today we'll unfold more on what strategized learning really stands for. I have a question to those who made it to the room. If we have HR professionals in the room, if you could raise your hand, or if there are leaders in the room, if there are any business leaders. Business leaders not, yes, there are, thank you. So I have a question to you as HR professionals and business leaders. What is that one skill that helps you move your team and your company to success? Think on that one skill. And makes you valuable in it. It's not an easy question. It seems to be easy, but it's not that evident. So now you got that one skill. And the follow-up question is, do you need to improve on it? Yes, no, maybe. Is it good enough? And for how long? This is what we should be thinking about our people, and we should be thinking about ourselves. And that's how we get really an ecosystem of learning. To answer these questions better, we should look at really who our players are, because this is why we're here. We're here for our players. Their context, their demands is our reality. And who are our players? What do they want? My personal journey in iGaming started almost 20 years ago in Authentic PokerStars. And back then, players were totally different. They were not as tech-savvy as today. Today, players are much more educated. They are super spoiled. They're very advanced in technology, socially connected, globally aware. They want super fast transactions, safe transactions. They want seamless digital experience. They want immersive, personalized, unique entertainment experience. And this is a lot to address with talent. But on top of the fact that it's a lot, there is also a paradox in it. On one side, they want freedom and excitement. On the other side, they want safety and protection. And how do you address both in a balanced manner? Is the challenge technology? Not really, because today you have CRM platforms, you have AI tools, compliance tools, lots of tools to our disposal. But what is really a challenge is to have the talent that is not only reactive to what's happening, but also proactive and preventive. And to have that, you need to have a strategized approach. So let's unfold what that really means. I would like to share with you 3 pillars that help look into learning and development in a strategized manner. And the first one goes around cohesive capability building. Cohesive capability building is when you have a range of learning solutions interconnected and strategically aligned. And how do you achieve that? One, you need to have clear individual business goals that employee has aligned vertically, and we aligned it with the business strategy. And then you identify which skills are needed to achieve those goals. And that's how you got strategically aligned development of skills. Two, you need to have identification of either there is a group solution in place or individual solution in place, and what will work better. So you see patterns. If there are needs for skills that are shared by a group of managers or by a group of specialists, you deliver it in groups. The last thing you want is to have leadership and management development program delivered to all managers at once. When you invite all managers and leaders and they all sit for the same course. This is not what you want. You want to have very clear learning needs understanding and deliver what's needed for the leaders, either individually or in groups. Three, embedding in work practices. It is very important to put what they've acquired on the ground. If there are tasks that are given to them that allow them to execute the acquired skills, then you have them working in practice. And how can you also reinforce it? Through rewards. Rewards monetarily, rewards with public recognition, any type of rewards will help your people really acquire these skills quicker and, most importantly, exhibit them. Then, moving on. Shared peer-to-peer learning. It's very important when we invite speakers from external sources, of course. HR professionals also invite learning and development facilitators all the time. That works well. But what works much better is when specialists share with specialists or managers share with managers. They want to hear each other. Call it tips by Peter, tips by Mary. In Aviatrix, we are launching soon tips by Anastasia. Those who know, they know. And the fifth, not last but not least point, is cross-skilling. So when typically you deliver data, for example, to data analytics, that's okay. That's expected. What about delivering data or compliance to creative people? Typically, we see them apart. We see creative people here, compliance people there, and they work in silos. But how about if, for example, you have a designer who thinks already with the compliance trigger in mind when he designs their artwork? That is what you want to have. And like this, you'll have a cohesive approach to their tasks. Not reactive, but already proactive. Now, the second pillar is around leadership and driven by leadership. Now, leaders will always say, why do I need your strategized learning if I'm already successful? I'm good as I am. And I think it's a very strong responsibility of HR to have the dialogue with the leaders and make them think and ask them back questions around, yes, you are successful, but think on where you could have been had you started with strategized learning approach earlier. Or another question, yes, today you're successful, but are you going to be able to maintain it? Will you keep the spot? Or everybody else is already gearing up and you'll be left behind? These are the questions that I think HR should be really discussing with the leaders to get them on board, to get their buy-in. Because if you don't get their buy-in, the cohesive capability building won't be possible. And the third pillar is around talent segmentation. You see here aspiration, capability. You have different ways of how this talent is usually segmented. There's Gartner, which tells you there is experience, skills, traits. In a nutshell, you want to segment your talent and understand which skills should be delivered to who and why. Maybe if you're a startup and you need to find that rock bottom, you talk about that all fundamental skills are delivered to everyone, even your risk employees. But maybe the skills that will drive your company forward, those should be delivered to high potentials, growth potentials, or mastery, if you want to call them, your experts. So that's very important conversation that needs to have between HR professionals and leadership, your management teams. So I've talked a lot about skills, and you heard me saying data and compliance, obviously because today these are those hard skills that are very important, and to gear up for future, you do need to focus on those. I want to bring up the top 5 skills which, according to various researchers, were sought after in 2025. So you either hire into those or you develop your stuff into those, and always with the mindset of not only developing the teams that are dedicated to work in these areas, but as we said, cross-skill, cross-learn, so that your compliance is very data efficient, so that your game integrity specialist, fraud specialist can spot something fraudulent before the AI tools does. That is what you need to have your talent be ready for future next step. We could also add to this top 5 the 6th one. You know, the slides don't really look nice when you don't have top 3 or top 5. The 6th one goes, if you are in B2C, around acquisition and retention of players. That is also a top skill that was really sought after and will continue to do so. And this is what you want to focus in terms of hard skills in 2026 going forward. To sum it all up, there's one truth, that technology will keep on evolving, compliance will keep on getting tougher, and players will keep on expecting more. What we need to have is talent that is prepared to address it in a timely manner and ideally proactively. And for that, you need to have leaders on your side. They need to buy into the concept of strategized learning. You need to have employees that will address safety needs and entertainment needs by players at the same time. And as HR professionals, plot a cohesive, strategically aligned range of learning solutions. And that's when you have what it takes to build talent that can keep the industry moving. And to conclude, I'd like to ask a question to those who are here. When do you think you've succeeded as a leader? When do you think you've succeeded as a professional? When you have good financial figures, yes. What comes to mind is NGR, GGR, of course. But on top of that, there's also one thing. You think that you succeeded as a leader and as HR professional when you see that your customer support agent came up with a very innovative idea that is maybe more impactful than some other specialists in your teams. When a developer came up with something brilliant and out of the box, you want your employees to come up with innovation and solutions even better than your own. And that's when you know that you have already built talent that will take your company and the industry forward and prepare it for the future. This is all from my side. Thank you so much for your attention. It was a pleasure. I hope I managed to trigger some thoughts or challenge some thoughts. And if you see me on the floor, don't shy away to say hi. I'll be happy to continue on the subject. Thanks a lot, and have a productive day.